I've been telling you that I think there's going to be changes at The View because it's so hateful. And again, Disney can do what it wants because it isn't taking our money.
Bill O'Reilly is one of the few voices in media who isn't afraid to call out the hypocrisy and toxicity of mainstream television, and this time, he's got his sights set on The View. And honestly, it's about time someone said it.
But when you're hateful on that program, it goes over into all your other enterprises, all of the other Disney properties.
O'Reilly is demanding that the show's hosts resign, and let's be real, he's absolutely right. The View has become one of the most divisive, mean-spirited, and intellectually dishonest programs on television, and the fact that it still airs daily is proof that the media no longer cares about fairness, balance, or even basic professionalism. The show has abandoned all pretense of being a discussion panel and has turned into a non-stop leftist echo chamber where anyone with a differing opinion is mocked, shouted down, and ridiculed. The hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and their rotating lineup of liberal mouthpieces have spent years poisoning public discourse, spewing misinformation, and creating an environment where conservative voices are treated as dangerous enemies instead of fellow Americans with differing views. O'Reilly sees this for what it is: a toxic talk show that has done nothing but push one-sided, hate-filled rhetoric under the guise of honest conversations. It's not a debate show. It's not an exchange of ideas. It's a propaganda machine that allows its hosts to attack, insult, and smear anyone who doesn't fit their radical agenda. What pushed O'Reilly over the edge this time? The View hosts once again went on an unhinged rant, demonizing conservatives, spreading blatant lies, and doing their usual routine of pretending that they are the righteous moral authority.
I think today Donald Trump is going to sign an executive order banning black people from halftime. Because you remember last week we were talking about whether the NFL was capitulating to Trump by removing the term "end racism" from the end zone,
while engaging in the very behavior they claim to despise. Whether they were smearing political opponents, dismissing serious issues that don't fit their narrative, or laughing off real concerns of the American people, it was just another day at The View. And O'Reilly had finally had enough. He went on his show and made it clear, this isn't entertainment anymore. It's a disgrace, and the women responsible should resign immediately. And he's not wrong. This show has been a disaster for years. Look at Whoopi Goldberg. She once had a respectable career, but now she spends her days scowling and barking at the camera, shutting down any attempt at real conversation.
Say, oh, you're with a white guy, I'm going to keep you from being deported. No, he's going to deport you and put the white guy with someone else. The man is out there. He lost the last time, and for the last 4 years, all we've heard is, I won, they were mean to me, I won. You lost! You lost!
She has no patience for opposing views, no tolerance for anyone who won't blindly follow the liberal playbook, and she certainly isn't interested in fairness. She's more interested in lecturing the audience, rolling her eyes, and making sure any conservative guest leaves feeling like they were ambushed rather than invited to speak. Then there's Joy Behar, who is quite possibly the most insufferable host on television. Her entire personality is built around being smug, condescending, and completely detached from reality. She laughs off real concerns, dismisses anyone who disagrees with her as a racist or misogynist, and acts like her opinions are the only ones that matter. She has no real arguments, just cheap insults and shallow talking points designed to rile up the audience. She's not interested in truth. She's interested in making sure the show stays in its comfortable little liberal bubble where nothing ever gets challenged. Sunny Hostin isn't any better. She parades around as the legal expert of the group, but her analysis is often so biased and misleading that it's laughable. She cherry-picks facts, distorts reality, and conveniently ignores anything that contradicts the narrative she's pushing. She pretends to be an intellectual, but in reality, she's just another partisan hack who uses her platform to push an agenda rather than present honest legal analysis. And let's not forget how The View treats the few conservative women they bring on. The show has gone through multiple conservative co-hosts over the years, and every single one of them was treated like an outsider, forced to sit there while the rest of the panel ganged up on them like a pack of mean girls. Meghan McCain, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, Jedediah Bila, anyone who dared to challenge the groupthink was either pushed out or treated like a punching bag until they had no choice but to leave. The message is clear. Conservatives are not welcome. And yet they still claim to represent all women. But do they? The only women The View represents are the ones who already agree with them. They have zero interest in speaking to the millions of conservative women in this country who don't buy into their nonsense. They don't want conversation, they want obedience, they don't want to debate, they want to dominate, and worst of all, they don't even try to hide it anymore. O'Reilly is saying what so many people have been thinking for years. The View isn't just bad television, it's dangerous. It contributes nothing positive to society, it fosters division, and it sets a terrible example for young women who are watching. The damage The View has done to public discourse cannot be overstated. It has normalized the idea that shouting over someone constitutes winning an argument, that labeling someone as racist or sexist is a substitute for an actual rebuttal, and that intellectual dishonesty is perfectly acceptable as long as it benefits your political side. This show has spent years feeding the public a steady diet of one-sided propaganda, acting as if they are some kind of moral authority while engaging in the exact behavior they claim to oppose. And what makes it worse is that they are not just pushing their agenda on their own time. They are doing it on a major network, with corporate backing and with zero accountability. If a conservative-leaning show engaged in half the behavior that The View does daily, it would be shut down immediately. Imagine if a group of conservative women sat around a table, mocked and belittled liberals every day, shouted down anyone who disagreed, and painted their political opponents as villains, with no attempt at fairness.
But the point is, on The View, they hate the President of the United States. It's not that they disagree with him, they hate him.
The backlash would be immediate. There would be protests, social media outrage, demands for cancellation, and major sponsors pulling out within hours. But The View gets away with it because they have the protection of the mainstream media, which is more interested in pushing a narrative than holding people accountable. ABC allows this nonsense to continue because it aligns with their agenda, and the women on The View know they are untouchable. They can say whatever they want, however outrageous or false, and there will be no consequences. Take Whoopi Goldberg, for example. She has made multiple inflammatory, ignorant, and outright false statements over the years, yet she remains untouched.
Well, also, if you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. These are two white groups of people.
Well, they would have to black people
see
too.
them as white men.
And they would
But
have
you're
to
missing the
homosexual.
point.
The most infamous example was her disgraceful comments about the Holocaust, where she claimed that it wasn't about race, an absolutely ridiculous and offensive take that ignored basic history. But what happened? After a brief suspension that was nothing more than a slap on the wrist, she was right back in her chair like nothing had happened. If anyone on a conservative show had said something even remotely similar, they would have been fired immediately and blacklisted from the industry. Joy Behar is just as bad. She has openly mocked and dismissed conservatives as if they are beneath her, made racially insensitive remarks, and repeatedly spread misinformation. But because she toes the correct political line, she remains on the show, completely untouchable. The double standard is staggering, and people are sick of it. And then there's Sunny Hostin, who constantly frames every political discussion through the lens of race, making sure to push the idea that anyone who doesn't agree with her must be morally deficient. She uses her background as a former federal prosecutor to give herself an air of authority. But in reality, she's nothing more than a partisan hack pushing the same tired, divisive talking points. And let's not forget how they treat their guests. If you're a liberal or someone who agrees with them, you get treated with respect, given time to speak, and showered with praise. But if you dare to challenge their views, you get interrupted, attacked, and ridiculed. Look at how they treated Republican guests like Senator Ted Cruz or Donald Trump Jr. They barely let them finish a sentence before launching into a coordinated attack, all while pretending they were engaging in a discussion. O'Reilly has every right to be furious. He understands what The View is doing to the country, And he knows that it's part of a larger problem. Shows like The View are designed to control the narrative, to keep Americans divided, and to ensure that any opposition to their agenda is silenced or discredited. They are not interested in fairness. They are not interested in balance. They are not interested in truth. They are interested in control. O'Reilly has drawn a line in the sand, and he's right to do so. The View has been given a free pass for far too long, and the time for accountability is long overdue. If the hosts had any dignity left, they would step down and allow room for real, meaningful conversations instead of the daily circus they've turned this show into, but we all know they won't.